Well, welcome to the DermCoder Training series. The purpose of this video is to go over the first blue tab of DermCoder, which is our default screen, which has to do with CPT coding and billing information, as well as our fee schedule. So as I mentioned in previous videos, this is a screen that you always default to. And DermCoder has 892 dermatology-specific codes that we filtered out and are including in this particular product. It'll always start out in the lowest code numerically. And as I mentioned in other training videos, you can use the navigational arrows to jump forward one code at a time, jump backwards one code at a time, or you could actually use the double arrows to go to the very, very last code in the list numerically as well too. In this particular case, we have a Q code. Let's say we knew some information that we wanted to pull up. We're going to pull up 14060. We wanted to find out some coding and billing information on that code. I use the code jump box here. We could also put in words by description, and we covered that in part 2 of our training series. So here we have an adjacent tissue transfer code. This is for adjacent tissue transfer on the eyelids, nose, ears, and lips, and includes a defect of 10 square centimeters or less. I'm going to go over some of the information on this screen in detail. It's an active code currently. It's a physician service code. One of the things that you may access on a regular basis is what are the post-op days for this particular code. You need to know if you're in a post-op period from a previous date of service. Was that other code in a 10-day post-op period or 90-day, or perhaps the concept of a global period doesn't apply. The multiple surgery reduction rules will let you know whether the multiple surgery reduction rules apply or not. And this has to do with multiple surgery reductions and whether this particular code may get reduced by 50% if it is billed with a higher valued service. It'll tell you whether the rules apply or don't apply. Whether some codes actually have a bilateral payment procedure edit in the system. For example, Una boots. If you do them on the left side of the body, you get paid one fee, or the right side of the body. If you do them bilaterally, you're going to get paid at 150% of the rate versus twice the rate, and it'll tell you whether the bilateral procedure rules apply or not. On the right side of the screen, we have some fee schedule information. My dummy default user here, Gomer Pyle, was already configured in video training number 1 for Miami, Florida. And if this particular user is billing out a claim for 14060 for the Miami, Florida Medicare locality, the participating fee schedule is going to be $882.17 if done in an office-based setting. Of course, your fees will be different based on where you are practicing in the United States. The non-par fees, if I've opted out of Medicare and I have a non-par status, it will calculate a slightly different fee schedule. Your limiting charge as well too will show you what you can charge. The limiting charge is if you're opted out or non-par with Medicare. The Medicare Plus percentage is based upon what we set under our user option setting. As a reminder, DermCoder can calculate Medicare plus a certain percentage that you've programmed in there for your second fee schedules. In this particular case, under my options tab, which we covered in video 1, we set it up to be Medicare plus 95%. So every screen that I go to will do that calculation for you. And what it does is it takes a participating rate and multiplies it by 1.95 to come up with 95%. You could change it to 50%, 200%, or 0%. Here's our total RVUs, or relative value units, for this particular code, 22.13. The bottom right corner are 3 interesting boxes here. MUEs, or Medicare Unlikely Edits. These are the number of times you can bill this on a claim without potentially creating any problems with the code editing software at the carrier, in this case it's Medicare. Medicare is basically saying that they will allow this code to be billed up to 4 times on a claim without you having to go through some special procedures, without automatically getting into denial, and so forth. We see in the very last box, this code should be billed in units. So if I needed to do 2 adjacent tissue transfers, 14060, I would build them on separate lines instead of in units. And I know that I can do that up to 4 times without raising any red flags with this claim. The middle box here says this code may be billed into other services. Check the CCI tables, meaning 14060 yes is possibly bundled with other services. So you're going to want to use our quick check feature here to check on any possible modifier bundle combinations. The other screen that we have on here, the other buttons that we have on here are for different fee schedules. The clinical laboratory fee schedule is set up differently than the Medicare physician fee schedule. By default, we have our blood draw, but if you know a particular clinical laboratory fee schedule, you're not finding it in the main screen, it could be that it falls under the clinical laboratory fee schedule. You can search for codes individually or search for words in the particular code. To go back to the main screen, you're going to click the DermCoder tab there. In the upper right, it's the leftmost button, takes you back to the screen that we were on before. I'm going to pull up a Mohs code and show you something interesting as well about the CPT and fee screen. My particular Medicare carrier has a local coverage determination policy, or an LCD, for this particular code. And I know that because this button here in the middle has turned blue. And if I click that, it's going to take me to the potential LCD policies for my Medicare carrier. Not every Medicare carrier has an LCD for each CPT code. Not every CPT code has an LCD. I can jump to the particular LCD for my code and my carrier two ways. I can click this little arrow in a box that'll take me to the CMS website and CMS's version of this LCD, or I can click the Go button here, and it's going to take me to DermCoder's pared down, filtered particular version of the LCD that's built into DermCoder. I am going to go over the LCD information in more depth on a separate video, but I wanted to explain that button to you. Another button that appears on the main screen is if a code is an add-on code. For example, 17003 is the add-on code for 17000. And if I am not sure what the primary code is, I notice that this red add-on code has turned red here. I can click on the add-on button here if it turns red if I'm in a add-on code, and it tells me that the primary code here is 17,000. I can click the Go Close button and that screen closes. One more interesting feature, which is rather new to DermCoder, is if you want to store as a user a particular note to keep track of about a certain CPT code, you can actually store personal notes in DermCoder. By clicking this Note button, I can store information. Now, there is no notes currently stored, but if I wanted to add a new note, I can do New. If I knew this was a particular code for United Healthcare, I can populate the carrier in there. And the note requires appeals on anything more than 10 units, or whatever note that I want to store. I click. I can also make this note specific to me or for other members in my company if I have multiple users in DermCoder. So I'm going to go ahead and click this to visible to all members of my company. Click Save, and it'll take you back to the main screen. If I pull up 17,003, which I'm back in again, I click the notes. There's that particular note that I just added. If I wanted to add a new note, let's say Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Florida, will not pay for anything other than L57.0. And I click Save. Go back to the main screen where we are. I'm going to click my Notes button, and there are both of those notes. I can view all of my notes. I can make changes to them. I can delete them, and so forth. A great feature about tracking specific information about CPT codes, and that information is specific to yourself or to all users in your company if you have multiple users. Last thing I want to point out in this screen, bottom right corner, we have the new, deleted, and revised CPT codes. So if you were wondering when a particular code may have been deleted, you can click the new, deleted, and revised. You can search for the codes. We have the code, the description, and what date that particular revision, addition, or deletion happened. I can go back and hit deleted here. It'll show me the deleted codes, or revised. It will show me only the revised codes. Again, the DermCoder tab on the upper right corner will take us back to the main screen where we always are. And as I pointed out in previous videos, DermCoder is always going to default you to the current quarter's data for whatever particular date you're in. If you needed to look up fees or code information on an older version, you can select this version at the top, and from the drop-down choose another version, hit set, and DermCoder will go back in time. One other thing that you can do is you can export CPT code information by clicking the Exports tab on the upper right corner. We can export our fee schedule, which includes codes, modifiers, definitions, the Medicare fee schedule, and that Medicare Plus second fee schedule, the Medicare Plus percentage that we've done. We can export the office-based fee schedule, the hospital-based fee schedule. We can export the entire clinical, laboratory, ambulatory, surgical center fee schedule, as well as this other information, and we'll go over this export in another video. So that's it for this training video. Make sure you watch the remainder of the training videos where we go over the rest of the DermCoder screens and buttons in more detail.